I think that's dope. I think you all are dope, and it's
Absolutely.
great that you recognize, right, that you need to speak up, right? You need to encourage each other and support each other when it's time to speak up. I think that's also important. I know we talked about different vehicles that you can drive to make change, right? And each one of you are all a different vehicle, and if you ride down that road together, can't nobody get through. Can't nobody get through.
Yeah.
So I
I'm
think-
just so
think it's
proud
fine.
because you all are so much more mature and intelligent than juniors and seniors were when I was in high school. So I'm proud of you. And again, I can't say enough. It just makes me hopeful as a person of my age in this community. It just makes me hopeful. You know, I can sit back and take a deep breath because I know you out there running things.
Right. Yeah.
Hello, and welcome to the BSU podcast. My name is Davion Robinson. I'm the BSU president here at Racine Case BSU. We're going to start with some friendly introductions. We're going to go to the left first.
My name is Pam Harris. I'm a grandmother of Racine Unified Case High, a Racine Unified student who is now at Horlick, and I'm a retired Racine Unified school teacher.
My name is Valerie Harmon. I'm vice president.
My name is Tamaya Gray. I'm secretary of Racine Case BSU.
My name is Corey Prince. I'm the RUSD BSU program coordinator.
My name is James Capo, and I'm Mr. BSU. Shoot, why y'all be laughing?
Mr. BSU. And today, first we're going to go over what's happening at Racine Case BSU. Right now we're having a Spirit Week. As you can see, we have on some graphic tees here. Today is our graphic tee day. Yesterday we had Jersey Day. Wednesday we're going to have Future Career Day. Future Career Day. Thursday we're going to have the Shades of Brown. And Friday we're going to have
Class colors.
class colors, which are seniors black, juniors red, sophomores green, and freshmen
Freshman's yellow.
yellow. Yeah. All right. And so we're gonna get into our topic for today. Our topic today is growing up black in Racine. And so first I'm just gonna start off with a nice little question. Where did you guys grow up? What side of town did you guys grow up from? Started with me. I grew up on the south side of Racine. Most of my family is from there. Yeah, that's me.
I grew up predominantly on Martin Luther King Drive. It is Martin Luther King Drive now. At that time, it was called Milwaukee Avenue. So I grew up over there between Albert and Julian Thomas School.
I also grew up on the south side.
I've been everywhere. I've been on Russell Street, Lonnie Lane, just everywhere. I haven't been in one certain area in like a long time.
Since I've been in Racine, I've always been on the south side.
You could say the south side. I grew up on 60th Street, too, so.
For sure. All right. And so since we're talking about the topic of growing up in Racine, what kind of hardships have you guys gone through growing up, going through the schooling system, all of that, you know? We're going to start going this way.
Okay. Wait, can you say the question again?
Yeah, I'm sorry. All right, so I'm just going to go over some of the hardships what are some hardships you faced as you've gone through school?
Through school or personally?
Let's start with school.
Honestly, I've never really had like any hardships through school besides just schoolwork. That's really it.
I would say one I really face is, I went to 21st Century for elementary, middle school. So that was a predominantly black school. It wasn't a lot of, it was more diverse, but it was more black students. So I've always been around black students, like, in education. So coming to Case, which is a predominantly white school, is like more harsher with fitting in or seeing other black students or seeing other black students that are interested in the same things I'm interested in, things like that.
Definitely. Some of the hardships I had when I was a student at Case High School was staying out of trouble.
I could agree to that. I grew up going to Jefferson Lighthouse, so that's primarily a white school, and then like a handful of black kids too. So it's hard trying to like learn how to code switch. So that was the main thing I had to learn how to get used to.
Me, I jumped from a lot of schools. Elementary, I went to Goodland, S.C. Johnson, and Renaissance in Kenosha, and also for middle school, I went to Starbuck, and high school Case. Starbuck, the jump from elementary to Starbuck middle school is kind of like you could tell that there's beginning to start like kind of like this. I want to say segregation in school systems. That's when I kind of started seeing it, because at Starbuck, a lot of the black students there were kind of like pushed not to their limits. You know what I mean? And so that's what I seen, and that's kind of how I felt a lot about that. And then even at Case High School as well, I feel like we're not pushed as much as we could be. So those are kind of like some of the hardships I feel at like Case and at our middle school and high school levels. Elementary school, they kind of do a good job of just keeping it straight, just keeping it going. Yeah.
Ironically, 3 of the schools I went to are no longer schools. That's how long ago it's been. But as far as hardships, I didn't really suffer any hardships either. When we moved here from Tennessee in the early 60s, I was in the 3rd grade, and they wanted to put me back in the 2nd grade. I think that's just how they did things, how they looked at schools in the South. But my mama was not having that, so I did go ahead and continue in the 3rd grade. Another big difference I noticed is that I came here when a teacher could paddle a student. And I can remember a teacher putting some math problems on the board and called 3 or 4 of us to the board to do the problem, and I couldn't do the problem, and she pulled out a wooden paddle and whipped me with it. So that's one of the major differences I see in when I went to school and where you're going to school now.
Ms. Harris, were the schools integrated versus segregated, like were they segregated in Tennessee but integrated here?
Actually, no. When I came here, the school I went to in Tennessee was all black. It was all black students, all black teachers. The good thing about it was my 1st grade teacher was my Sunday school teacher, and my 2nd grade teacher played the organ at our church. So it was a close-knit community, and when I moved here, it was totally different. I have some white people in my immediate family in Tennessee. I didn't really realize they were white until I moved up here. In Tennessee, it really wasn't a problem. We all lived in the same area, in the same land. But no, it was a totally different down there than it was up here.
Sure. Thank you. And so growing up, were you guys ever afraid of the police? I'll start with myself. I wasn't. I was always told to like always be, be calm, collected, because your skin color is a weapon to the police. That's what I was always told, and I didn't really realize that until the death of Tyrese. When he died, I was kind of like, whoa, like okay, the police really are killing people in our city, and so it kind of made me realize that I should probably take more precaution when I am dealing with police, making sure that if something is going on, I should be probably recording it, Also to just keep my hands on the wheel, stay vigilant, just be calm, and just let the justice system try to handle it.
I actually grew up very sheltered, so I feel like there's a lot of things that I didn't really realize were actually happening until I was maybe 11 or 12. But my mom, both my parents, but they both told me if you get pulled over or something, keep your hands on the wheel, just keep your hands visible, stay calm, and don't get an attitude even though you might be mad because something could happen.
I would say, yeah, I was definitely scared of the police. I remember vividly, one day my mom got pulled over by a police officer for speeding, and I was my heart was beating so fast. I was scared for the both of us. I was in the back seat, she was in the front, and it was such a young age where I knew the police weren't someone you can view as a black person, someone that's supposed to be there for you to protect you. So I would say, yeah, I'm definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I just think that we have to identify, where did police come from? What were they initially invented for, right? Was to protect the chattel property, which was us, from running away. And so when we have that inherent inception of police in America, it's something that's in us that just tells us we should be afraid, because we known all the way up into, Rodney King, up into Tyrese West, Dante Shit. These are things that we see. We see these things, especially you all now in your generation. You're able to see it in real time on videos. We didn't have that. We knew that the police did things to people, but we didn't have social media. So people weren't recording. We didn't have cameras everywhere. So a lot of things were like your word against the police's. And so that also, I think, gave us a different role to interact with the police, because we kind of knew that we didn't have a camera.
Exactly.
Right? We didn't have witnesses. We didn't have a movement that would push behind us if something happened to us. It was more, there was a regular occurrence if something happened to you. So, yeah, there's always been that fear of police. Now I think we can use certain things. We fought for body camera legislation, which, we now are able to at least see what happens to you if something happens. And then we can use that to kind of change the way the police, deal with black people in America.
I agree with that. For me, my mom always taught me, be cautious of the police, but just do what they say. But just recently, I got pulled over twice, and I just listening back to what she taught me, putting hands on your wheel, getting your ID ready, getting your registration ready. It just gives me still a worry when I roll down the windows talking to the police, even if I don't know, it's just a feeling that you gonna have when, even if you didn't do nothing, it's still something that could happen, resulting in how you talk to them. So those two pullovers I had, maybe be more cautious and be more aware of what's going on, really. So
yeah, it saddens me to hear you say things like you had to have that conversation with your parent. It's almost like you're a target if you're breathing while black. Once we moved up here, I've never had a fear of the police. I've never been arrested. As a child, I lived in trauma, so the police was often called to my home. But as far as growing up in Racine, never really had any incidents with the police. Because of my age, I grew up in a time when the police actually walked through our neighborhood on a regular basis. And our relationship with the police was unfortunately different from the relationship that most of you have with police today. And, I hope that we can continue that circle and get back to that time, because, you are here, but you will have children and they will have children. And so I just hope, that we can make that a better time. And unfortunately today, I would like to say it is simply a black or white issue, because I think if it was black and white, there's hope that we could bridge that gap. But as far as police today, I think it's more of a blue issue. And I think that's another issue, a much more serious issue.
Yeah, so going off that, I'm gonna ask you another question. So when you say a blue issue, you mean just a police issue?
Absolutely,
general, right?
I do think the thing that makes it a civil rights issue is that any time my rights are trying to be oppressed or I'm discriminated against, that's what makes it a civil rights issue. And also because you are twice as likely to be pulled over because your skin is black. But I just think the culture of policing, when I was little, they weren't called police officers. They were called peace officers. Mm. And that is what typically they did. They were there to make peace. If somebody was fighting, they would come. Although then when people fought. They didn't use guns the way they did today, the way they do today. So yeah, that has just changed from peace officers to what a police officer is today.
That's some of what we're seeing right now, though, with Tyree Nichols, right? Right, the gang of officers who are under the color of law, but they look just like us, but they're actually worse than some cops that don't look like us.
Exactly.
And that is the over abuse of authority, right? That's people who get in positions of authority. And you see that inside and outside of policing. You see that in your schools, right? People in authority who over abuse their authority. And that's why the Black Student Union is here, to fight back against those abuses and those causes for black folks.
Exactly. Thank you. So, one of our last questions, it's kind of a broad question, but it's, have you ever gone through or experienced something that you really regret and that you have learned from and that you can consider, like, how do I say this? Have you ever gone through something that you regret? Let's just keep it at that. And I'm pretty sure everybody at the table has definitely done something that you're like, oh, I should never did that. But let's keep it to, like, something that's, like, you know, that's happening in the black community, you know? So, do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think, yeah.
I'm gonna start with you.
No, I was gonna say, why don't you answer the question first? Why don't you answer
I want
the
to hear
question
your answer.
first?
I want to hear your answer to my question.
Okay, I'm gonna do my best to answer the question. I think it's, do we have something that we regret? And there was another part to it when you started. Was it like, will we change or will we? What was it?
Yeah, like will we change our actions or will we? If you could go back, would you change it?
Sure. So I'll answer that. I actually went to juvenile prison from Case High School at the age of 15. And at the time, unbeknownst to me, a juvenile at the age of 15 could be made a convicted felon for the rest of their life. And so I did not know that. As I was perpetuating in juvenile mischief, criminality, things like that while in school, what I thought was, you know, being a kid, I was doing the things that my friend groups were doing, and I got caught. And Karan Butler actually went to jail 7 months before me from Case, and then I went to jail from Case. And the difference in the law was there was a crime bill called the 94 Crime Bill that was instituted. And when he committed his crime, the crime bill had not yet been instituted, thus meaning that he was restored his rights when he became an adult. So he was not considered a juvenile felon, or he didn't have a record, basically, when he turned 18. Whereas me, 7 months later, because the law changed, I was considered a felon for the rest of my life. And so I would say, if I was to regret something, it would be that, because it did lead me down a path of continuous incarceration, a cycle, right, of incarceration, which, you know, I teach young people all the time now. Once the system gets a hold of you, they have you they literally have an outline. They have a plan for you for the next 10 to 15 years on how they will profit off of you, how they will keep you incarcerated, how they will destabilize your family and your community because you're out of the picture, right? And so all of those things, especially now, like looking back and seeing that Wisconsin actually leads the United States of America in locking up black people, knowing that I was a part of that and being used to perpetuate and continue that system, I definitely regret, you know, being a part of that cycle.
It's definitely.
Yeah.
And also that Wisconsin is something that's leading that statistic. That's kind of crazy that Wisconsin, of all places, is leading that statistic.
5% black population for the state.
Right.
And out of all 50 states, we actually lead the United States of America in incarcerating black men and women.
That's so crazy to me.
Yeah.
Man. Back to the question. Me, I've definitely done a lot of things that I regret. I wouldn't say necessarily regret, but a lot of things I should have never done. And I'm happy that I moved past that part of me doing those things, and I've grown as a person to learn that it's okay. It wasn't okay, but it's okay that I've learned, you know. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a great question because if you don't experience failure or regret, you won't grow. You know, that's just not that's not how we develop. That's not how we grow. Even though as parents and grandparents, we want to keep all that away from our kids. Yeah, I've done many things in my life that I regret, but that has brought self-awareness to me. You know, I've had to look at those things, analyze them, and determine is that something I want to revisit or not. But I would just like to share, because of the forum that we're having, in 1972, when I was 17, I graduated from actually St. Catherine's when I was 17 and went to UWM. And I had a roommate who was a nursing student. I was an education student. And I had, you know, my favorite record was Chaka Khan in Smoking Room. And I played it all the time. And whenever she would ask me to turn it down, I would turn it down. If she would sometimes ask me to turn it off, I would turn it off. 'Cause I was a parent pleaser, and that's how I grew up. That's the kind of household I came from. So one day she asked me to turn it down. I thought she said turn it down, so I turned it down, and she said no. I said turn it off. I said I'm not turning it off. So she left the room. She was gone maybe 5 or 10 minutes, and I get a call from the house fellow. I lived in Sandberg Hall at UW Milwaukee. We lived on the 20th floor. And so I get a call from the house fellow to come down to his office. It didn't seem like very long, but when I got down there, her mom and dad were down there. Her mom and dad, she was sitting there, and they lived in Sheboygan. I don't know how they got down there that quick. But we had this conversation. We had this conversation about me not turning down my music. And again, I was 17. And this was clearly about color. This was clearly a race issue. And I started to cry. That was really the only thing I regretted, was I started to cry. And I was thinking, if I known her mom and dad was going to be here, I'd have called my mom and dad, but that would have been the wrong thing to do. It was good that my mama was not there. But so we had the conversation. The house fellow made us apologize to each other. And in the conversation, she said, there's only one black family in Sheboygan. And that really had nothing to do with me. So we had the conversation. Her and her mom and dad left, and the house fellow said to me, I see you have a job of educating her. And I really felt that was not my job. Had I had that same opportunity today, I would talk to her. I would have a conversation with her, because I really think we can change our situation one person at a time, a little bit at a time. But that change has to start with me. And I was 17. I didn't have the same lens then that I have today. But I'm just saying this because you may find yourself in a situation like that, and you'll have to make that decision. Well, no, that ain't my job. You know, my mom and daddy sent me here to get an education. Or yeah, let me talk to her because I was in BSU. So that was I was 17, and I will forever remember that. I would have done it differently. I really would have talked to her.
I actually have been in a situation similar to that, like a few months ago. In July or August, I went to this tennis camp, and I was already the only black person there, so I already felt like alienated a little bit. Yeah, but there was this girl, and I'm not gonna say her name, but she, like, every time she talked to me, she just had like a really bad attitude, and I couldn't figure out why, because like I was the only black person, but I wasn't the only minority, so race didn't like occur to me. But thinking about it, that's probably why it was. And I was like I was sick when I was there, so I just didn't really feel like dealing with anybody while I was there, so I just wasn't like in my right mindset to have a conversation with her or anything like that. Yeah.
It's draining, isn't it? To push back on racism and racist acts is draining. So
Definitely.
I hear you.
I would say one thing I regret is just not speaking up when needed to, and not pushing myself further, because like I said earlier, me in that case is predominantly white, and like every classroom I'm in, there's less than 5 black people there. I get like two in this class, 3 in this class, stuff like that. So being this only black person in the classroom, you're more how can I say this?
Singled out.
Yeah, singled out, but you're more.
Looked at as well.
I can't
kinda like-
say it. I can't think of the word.
What is it relating to?
No, like you're more. No.
Focused on?
Oh my god. You're more. You're more prone to be by yourself, or alienated, or stay to yourself. So, with me wanting to stay to myself because I'm the only white person, I'd be like, all these white people don't get me. All these white people don't understand where I'm coming from, how I think, how I act, how everything I'm going through. They just won't understand. They won't listen. They won't. So I would say I definitely regret like not speaking up and not pushing myself, because if you're not gonna do it, no one's gonna do it for you.
That's true.
That's true.
I'm so glad you said that. When I was taking on my master's classes, often I was the only black person, and I relished in that. I fully thrived, because, and of course in education there were a lot of questions that had to do with race and different things, and I took the opportunity to make myself heard and to make sure that everybody in that room understood my point of view. It wasn't always my black point of view, but it was my point of view.
I want to share this with you to encourage you before we go to. So this summer, I actually had a chance to go to the White House with the NAACP National Campaign Team in a strategy session with the Vice President and staff throughout the White House. So we met Karine Jean St. Pierre, the White House press secretary. We met the Vice President's press secretary, Jamal Collins. And then we met, this one really changed me, what I want to share with you. We met Miss Shalonda Collins. She's a black woman, and she's actually the head of the Office of Budget Management, meaning that she's in charge of all of the money that goes out in the United States of America. She's the first black woman ever to hold the office. And she just kind of talked about like her career, her path, having to be the only black, having to be the only black person at a place, having to be the only black person in the class, having to be the only black kid in advanced studies, right? Mm-hmm. And she talked about, and she's a natural hair black woman who talks about like owning her blackness and occupying the space no matter what, right? No matter what the cost, ascending to heights that who would have thought, but still walking in her blackness and speaking truth to power. So, just keep staying the course, man. You all are amazing. Yeah. All of you leaders, I know the camera ain't on y'all, but you all are leaders and amazing for being here, and just keep staying the course and supporting each other.
Yeah.
For real.
Thank you for sure. This is the wrap up. Thank you guys for watching today. Again, we are Racine Case BSU. Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, Racine Case BSU, Instagram, TikTok.
Did you say TikTok? We got a TikTok now?
Okay. Make sure y'all tune in with the TikTok, man. That's we posted videos all this week for Spirit Week, so make sure you guys you won't see it probably in no time soon, but
make sure y'all go back in. Double tap. Mm-hmm.
Y'all excited about the Black College Tour?
Definitely.
Most definitely.
I'm excited to go to Howard, man.
Yeah.
All right.
Mm-hmm.